Hello everyone, my name is Zihao Cai, and today I'm going to presenting an analysis on the characters, themes, and cinematography of the film Little Chen, and the introduction and the historical background. I will start with the background of this film. And Little Chen was released in 1999, and it is a film in full Chen series known as 1997 trilogy. And it's all about the uneasy days leading up to Hong Kong's return to China. It was set in the years before the handover, and this film turns away from major political events to showcase what life was look like for the working class in the period. Chen, who is the poorest, living in a world filled with narrow streets, hard work, and I can say slowly dying dreams. In my view, even though the main plot of the film is simple, there is evidence of the problems of inequality and divided identities. Through the use of the real-life images and symbolic individuals, Chen shows the real result of political transformation on normal people. For the post-handover angsty and identity suspension. Now, to understand handover angsty and identity suspension after 1997, Hong Kong found itself in an unusual position where it was not part of the British Empire any longer, and now again it was not fully a part of China. I read an article that argues that it is a situation where people's identity does not feel sure or scattered. Little Chen reflects this by being disrupted and displeased emotionally. In one of these scenes, Chen runs after what he thinks is the fan of Fan, only to encounter a stranger who hugs him. Although it is a tender moment, it is also confusing. When the camera shifts to the disharmony of the city, we are left with a metaphor of a child lost in a city that has forgotten how to identify its own as displayed in this image. And Little Chen as a symbol of conflict identity. Next, I think is the presentation of the Little Chen as a symbol of conflict identity. In this film, Chen is not just a boy helping at the store, but he can be viewed as the scene of Hong Kong's struggle after the British rule ended. He is speaking Cantonese at home, but studying in English language school. He dreams of being famous on TV, but is confined to the working class, is rooting from a young age. This shows a contradiction present in the arrangement of one country, the two systems. His identity is shaped and influenced by the effect of colonization and the diametric of capitalism. He tries out for an old opportunity in one moment and is seen in another scene, writing his name on a wall to assert a place in a war that seemingly tries to erase his existence. He is turned in the directions of hope and displacement. And for the discipline, humiliation, and changes of the annoyances. I think among the most indicative scenes in Little Chen is one where Chen and Fan are found together and Chen hangs in fear of being spotted. What comes next is not just mere inspiration but ideological discipline. They are torn apart, walking away in different directions, and building literary disparities the film actions with a visual symbol of the systematic boundaries. Chen is then forced to drop his pants and unrent in the open. This is not only an embarrassing childhood behavior, but a punishment through a show of the humiliation to cut the link between him and the fan. This mechanism of class discipline intends entering into the sphere of personal experience. And in this case, It transformed the body of a child into a ground of control. The fan as symbol of the marginalized margins. Under the perspective of the marginalization, the fan symbolizes people in Hong Kong who are not acknowledged by the law, even though she is undocumented. She is active and present both in the city's workforce and social circles. Even though she is close to Chen, her life remains very uncertain. At one point, she is pursued by police just because she was in a public area. This portrays Fan as a character that reflects fierce social contradictory in Hong Kong, where people have jobs and are needed, yet might not be considered citizens and have no sense of the safety. The friendship between Fan and Chen. Looking at the friendship between Fan and Chen, it can be seen that Fan and Chen shared a special bond that is unusual for people for different classes and legal situations. The way they play games, draw with chalk, and eat snacks reflect the kind of community that is not influenced by adult ranks. However, these good relationships can easily be destroyed. For instance, once Chen starts to adopt his family's transactional mindset, their friendship with Fan becomes stranded. He begins to separate himself from her, showing kids how political economic systems can separate people and relations. And family and capitalist survival. From the viewpoint of family survival, Chen's family can be said as not being unruly, but forced on surviving through the hardships. For them, running a restaurant meaning learning to handle the difficult challenges such as of the city life. I like how Chen's father encouraged him to grow up, focusing on being tough, practical, and making profits. Both love and laughter happen in the same space within the home. For instance, fights take place during dinner and pretending during to make others. The domestic storylines of this film follow how capitalism in Hong Kong can put stress on all relationships. Dynamic refers to as a class discipline, and it became clear that change in their world is getting smaller. Even families start to play a role in financial strategy rather than offer shelter from it. And the urban space as a place separated by class. In relation to urban space as a place was the different classes. Little Chen. The city clearly shows how inequality exists in this community. Chen's surroundings are shown as narrow across the streets, while modern buildings and hotels are mostly out of the sight in the film. These differences are not only visual as they show real differences in ideologies. A viewer can see the layout on the city show where different classes are meant to live. Through Chen used space to highlight class. And this is obvious from how the camera stays near Chen's most pin around the close low-class place to highlight his proximity to these areas. Cities reveals a contrast between how some people can move freely or get help from the others, while others are confined to one location. And how cinematography influenced social realism. I think in relation to the film cinematography, one we can notice that is his voice. Through Chen creates a raw and specific racial style. He relies on handheld cameras, natural emulation, and continuous shots to depict the scenes as more lively and realistic. There is no attempt to make the hardness less gritty. This camera is usually close, with lots of movements highlighting the crowded and trans-crowded environments. The term realized in this case is political, not using fan, the film techniques. Chen highlights the social issues of the poor community and ignored by society and neglected by the system. each image of frozen moments in the movie away from it. This style machined the film's key message about inequality and exclusions. And I think for the conclusion, in my conclusion, Little Chain is a story about surviving the system rather than about finding a solution. I think the way this film is made highlights the clash between the class, moving to new places, and national identity in our daily lives. Although Chen and Fan are children, their lives are determined by the realities of the adult society. The story ends without answering all of the question that was the viewer may have since Hong Kong sense of self is still unclear. Instead, it urges us to pay attention to the people live on the edges, the forgotten individuals, and the tight strait where they live are controlled by the power and the dynamics and such. And this is a reference of the end of the PowerPoint. Thank you.